Well, hello everybody. Let's see, I got it on the right channel this time. Yeah. So I hope you all had a really wonderful Christmas holiday, whatever you believe, whatever your faith, and a great Boxing Day, whatever you do on Boxing Day. I play petanque or boule on Boxing Day. Hope you have a happy new year. And so, oh yeah, this Sunday, I think there's going to be humongous giant waves at Nazare. So I'm going to go down there and see if I can get some video. I called my friend who flies the drone, and I'm hoping that he's going to be able to go as well. So Sunday, I think, Monday should be good. Anyway, down to business. I like what they think, or I like the way she thinks, I like the way he thinks kind of video. And it's inspired by a good friend of mine who is an apologist for business as usual, who fancies himself a capitalist. He's a good guy, and he's worked around the world. And he's an expat Canadian, but he's an example of the kind of people that I know who haven't really learned anything in decades. So whatever you were programmed with when you were young, whatever you learned, you kind of stick with it. You have biases. You look for confirmation of your beliefs. And so you stick to it, and basically people get kind of roped into the propaganda sphere, marketing, public relations, advertising, propaganda, think tanks, pundits on TV, cable news, publications that are kind of mainstream. All of these exist to support the system known as capitalism. I know that's a charged word, but don't worry about it. It is a thing, and it's important. And then recently, of course, neoliberal financialized capitalism that I talk about often, and coded fossil capital. And what I mean by coded, obviously, when I talk on these videos, is legal code. The system is designed and structured to funnel money to a small few that are.
They read about economics, they read about politics, they read about the environment. So they're data junkies. But you also need to bring a lot of imagination, be able to break the boundaries of those trends, because trends change direction. One of the early examples of, how shall I say, bad decision making that shows why you need good scenario planning was a crucial decision that IBM made in 1981 about whether to go in the business of making a new product, the personal computer. And they said, well, look, we need to forecast demand. Is there a really big demand for this product? Is this going to be important?
Capable of producing that machine, that business that can funnel money to them. And then you have your capital on capital returns, and capital is global. You have colonialism, neocolonialism, you have those concerns stemming from history and right up to the present moment. Extraction of value, of materials, energy from around the world to basically feed rich corporations and their kind of token markets. We think it's cool because we get to choose from, 50 different t-shirt designs when we go to the store. Or we can go on Amazon and puzzle over a billion different things that we might think we need. And also things can be produced cheaply because of labor arbitrage and because of the diesel-fueled logistics, global logistics, and global capital. Corporations can take advantage of less expensive parts of the world to produce things. And you're lucky because you get to go to the Home and Garden Depot and buy a really cheap plastic lawnmower that'll last you a couple of years before you have to get it fixed or landfill it and buy something new. Anyway, we're all part of that. I grew up in that. I'm an old guy, so yeah, blame me. I didn't choose where and when I was born. But anyway, I am one of those guys, baby boomers. So there are a lot of thinkers in the world today. There's tons of research, papers, studies, academic papers, books, academic books, popular books that you can read about the history of capitalism. So recently, as I told you, I was reading Fossil Capital, Mom. That's a great book. And before I read a book, or just recently I finished a book called The Playbook, How to Deny Science, Sell Lies, and Make a Killing in the Corporate World by Jennifer Jacquet.
All of us have heard this message. You can't really talk about these problems because you're part of the problem. In fact, I was just reading this piece in The Guardian about Naomi Klein, and it said she's not your traditional environmentalist. She has a play set in the backyard that's clearly made in China. She flies a lot. She owns a car, admittedly a hybrid. And I just thought, this is such a strange caveat. Like, we're all part of the system. The fact, I mean, was there an alternate, even a play shed for her kid that she could get that wasn't made in China? It was all very strange, but...
It's a fantastic book. It's only about 240 pages or something like that. Very easy to read, very entertaining. And it's just about how the corporate machine, think tanks and media, and how to bribe people and make them confuse the public about policy and other kinds of information relating to social impacts of business. The typical one we talk about all the time is the tobacco industry or big pharma or, the chemical industry and so on. Things are a lot more nuanced and complex than the stuff that we've learned from the usual outlets. And so I challenge people to look into these things more deeply because we have some challenges we're dealing with now that won't go away and will change everything, whether you believe in this ideology or that. And by the way, neoliberal capitalists think everything's an ideology, a stinking ideology if it's not related to their thing. And they want to keep the game going. I call it the great game. I call them the players. Mind you, I think Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are brilliant business people, and I respect what they've been able to do. When I was younger, I tried to do some things like that. I failed, but I'm not bitter. I respect what they did, and if Bill Gates wants to buy all the farmland in the world and he has the money to do it, he will, because that's what billionaires do. And whatever the reasons for it, who knows? Could be benevolent, could be control, I don't know. But anyhow. So the other guy I want to talk about is Jason Hickle.
We know empirically that they tend to focus on supporting and improving human well-being. They focus production on that objective and also sustain ecology and ecosystems. And this is a resilient finding, right? When people get together democratically to deliberate about production, that is what they do. So the question is, why does our economy not look like that? And the reason is because our economy is not democratic, right? And this is interesting. Capitalism is a fundamentally undemocratic economy. Yes, it operates in democratic political systems where we elect our elected representatives and so on.
And he's written a couple of books a while back. I think it was before the pandemic. I read a book called The Divide by him, which was just about North and South. And and how the North extracts wealth from the South, just to make it simple. But it's a good book. And I'm reading another book now called Less is More, which is this more recent book, and it's How Degrowth Will Save the World. So anyway, I'm going to run you through a few documents real quick about this stuff. I just want to say that I see all kinds of people, young journalists, young academics, older folks like me, who really don't understand what the degrowth movement, if it's a movement, is all about. And what I keep saying in all my videos is that there are all kinds of ways we can think about growth, and we can prioritize growth. Now, I lived in China many, many years, and I lived in Japan many, many years. And you look at all those buildings, you wonder, what are people doing in all those offices? And you wonder how they made the Shinkansen and how China developed so rapidly. And there's this thing called modern monetary theory. Now, in the West, MMT is for the MIC, the military-industrial complex. For some reason, Western leaders think they have to make people comply with the rules-based order by force, rather than soft power or diplomacy or things like that. And I think it backfires over and over and over on the United States and Europe. And you can just look at history of the 20th century to understand it, and the forever wars and the war on drugs and so on. What happened in Afghanistan, it just is Groundhog Day over and over again. Now, this isn't going to stop ever, because the system is very well structured to support this endeavor, global financialized capital, that machine. And I call it an omnicidal killing machine, because that's what it does. So I am not a Pinker apologist, which I like Steven Pinker, but Jason Hickle has a lot to say about how he interprets the numbers in Enlightenment Now and things like that. And there are different ways to look at it. All I'm asking you to do is challenge yourself by looking at these things and thinking about them a bit, so that you can confront them and interrogate them as we move forward year by year, because this predicament is not going away. And if you have children, you're going to want them to understand different ways of thinking about things, and not just absorb the cultural propaganda in our current Western sphere of whatever, Western civilization or culture. A lot of people have pointed out with people like Hayyan Hirsi Ali that her brand of Christianity is just a political move. It's like cool politics, has nothing to do with faith or anything else. And there's a lot of irony there if you look at white Christian nationalism or Christian Zionism, all the hypocrisy basically that we can point out in Christianity. Not saying that it's a bad thing, that Catholics are bad or Baptists are bad or Orthodox Christians are bad. I don't say that at all. Most people approach it from a cultural, familial perspective, and they're very happy and faithful and decent people. But the way that power uses religion and ideology and propaganda is very pernicious, and it doesn't do us any good, and it won't do us any good in the long run. I'm not a techno-optimist, but I like technology, science, and engineering, and I think there are a lot of solutions coming down the pike that are going to help us transition into a different global socioeconomic and political system. And when I say global, that doesn't mean that there won't be Hungarians or Polish people or Japanese and South Koreans and Vietnamese and Cambodians doing their thing. I like cultural diversity. I find it fascinating and interesting. I don't want everything to just be one thing. I've traveled a lot for many decades, and one of the reasons I love traveling is because of the novelty, the joy of experiencing something new and engaging with other cultures and so on. I love that. That's been an incredible source of wealth in my life. So I just mean that we can probably manage resources, global resources better. We can solve the coordination problem that we have. We can learn to work across nation states to accomplish things that need to be done in terms of ensuring that our environment is healthy and that life on Earth continues in a healthy way to flourish for future generations. Of course, if you don't care about future generations and all that, that's fine. That's you. Maybe it doesn't matter, which is fine. And maybe you don't like to read books or you never read books. But we have information all over the place in various formats that are easily engaged with. And I want to encourage and challenge people when I share something, even though I'm not the most eloquent presenter of this information. There are so many people that do better than I do. But I just want you to know that if you're a simple, curious human being, you can engage this information, and it's fun. It's liberating. So I'll go ahead, go to the documents, and then I'll leave it at that. But anyway, have a great new year, and I'll see you again soon. I don't know if I'm going to make another video this year, but anyway, we'll see. All right, let's go to the documents. All right, so here we are, screen recording. So, I mentioned Jason Hickle, those two books, The Divide, Less is More, quite good. He's an interesting guy. He's written lots and lots of essays. How much should inequality be reduced? And it's complex talking about that stuff, but it's interesting. And he knows a lot about it. This is fun. How British colonialism killed 100 million Indians in 40 years. Too much fun, huh? So anyhow, how to achieve full decolonization. So this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but get over it. It's interesting stuff, and you'll learn something. So he's got research, tons and tons of stuff, all with PDFs you can look at. Well-researched, well-referenced. He's got a blog. This was fun. I'll show you this one in a minute. Accelerationist possibilities in an eco-socialist degrowth scenario. So he's saying you can accelerate things leading to a low-carbon economy, to a better situation for people around the world. You can accelerate the right kinds of technology and so on, while decelerating the stuff that's, full of quote-unquote externalities and bad things for people around the world, like war. So this is the book by Jennifer Jacquet. It's really good. It's short, 240 pages. So it's an easy read, and it's very enlightening. So she's an astute observer of business behavior surrounding health issues, pollution, climate change. And here's some bullet points. Include how-to. This is the playbook that corporations have to get over on people when there are controversial policies that might impact their profits. Message the statistics to suit your needs, or even better, find studies to make up some new ones. So they have money and resources. They can fund studies and find people that will help them present the narrative that they want presented. Attract and cultivate university professors who have an axe to grind and are short of cash. Even people who are fans of Noam Chomsky point out that he was at MIT, which is adjacent to the military-industrial complex, and so on and so forth. And you're always raising funds for research and whatnot. Nobody's immune. Make your problem somebody else's problem, ideally the government's. So you want to blame outside forces. If people are pointing fingers at you, you say, what about them? What about them? It's their fault. Remember, tame journalists, PR firms, think tanks, lawyers, and threats of physical violence are your friends. So tame journalists, right? These are your friends, and this is what they wield to teach us what we should think about their endeavors. And so we do, and we fall for it every time. So follow these rules and you're guaranteed to make a killing. It's economic sense, after all. And make a killing sounds like a pun, and I'd like to think it is, because a lot of time it is making a killing. So here's a review on the playbook from The Guardian. You can look that up if you want to see more about it. So Jennifer is quite a lady. She's an environmental science and policy professor, environmental science and policy at the Rosenstiel School of Marine, Atmospheric, and Earth Science at the University of Miami. She's also affiliated faculty at the Abbess Center for Ecosystem Science and Policy. So she wrote 2 books, The Playbook and Is Shame Necessary? I read that one. It's very good. It's not about shame on you, but it's about people feeling more connected to the outcomes of their beliefs and whatnot. And sometimes we should feel ashamed that something like what's happening in Gaza is happening. That's just ridiculous. But anyway, that's another thing. So this is one of Hickle's essays. So Progress and Its Discontents, New Internationalists. So yeah, I underlined a lot of stuff here, but I'm not going to read it out to you. I just put the links in the description and let you figure it out yourself. But he covers a lot of things. He's talking about Gates and Pinker and the optimist view of capitalism and history. Nothing great ever came from anything but. This is this thing. I should move this thing over a bit. Yeah, whatever. So he presents a different view of how they calculate, how Gates and Pinker look at poverty rates and so on, how they spin the information with tidy, cool little graphs, a company that Bill Gates invested in, the world of data, for example. He calls them the new optimists, like Gates and Pinker. And this is very interesting. So, rewriting history, the infographic packages colonialism as happy progress. So, yeah, there are very clever ways of making us think that everything is perfect. If you just let them do their business, it's all good. He talks about the rising tide, relative problems in terms of purchasing power and actual wage growth and so on. There are books like this. Piketty did one that was incredibly well researched, and it's hard to read. It's a big book. So this is a different thing. Yeah. Anyway, these are all pretty interesting, and you can find all of this on his website, or you can find it in other places, and he's got lots and lots of videos on YouTube and other places where you can hear him talk, and so does Jennifer Jacquet. So I would say that these people are extremely interesting. They have a very fine-grained view of the way things are. They're not complaining. They're not communists. You know, they're not like heavy ideological people. They don't identify as socialists or woke or anything like that. These are scholars, academics, and professionals in science that, you know, have a different perspective on data. And maybe it's a more inclusive perspective because they actually care about other people in the world besides just how great we are. So here's a lot of videos on Jason's website, and you can see he's been quite busy for quite a while, and he's up to date. You can find stuff coming out in 2023. So I highly recommend this stuff, and thank you a lot for looking. So my challenge to you is to reconsider what growth means. So GDP and all that. Because at some point we're going to have to grow in different ways than we have been. It's not going to be all about tearing apart the planet and producing stuff, you know, to sell, to commodification. And at the end of the day, I don't understand why people can't understand the limits of a finite planet. You know, we only have so many resources. I mean, anyone can calculate more or less oil reserves, and, you know, how much copper is there, and what happens when we destroy fisheries. You know, what are the downstream effects of the extinction of whales, for example? You know, people just don't seem to understand the interconnectedness of things. And that's bizarre to me. I don't get it. So I challenge you to reconsider what you think growth is, and if there's a better way to grow from now on. All right, take good care. Bouliam tea, out.